ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवद्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now we are concluding the refutation. And what is that refutation? The refutation of the point that the that evam tarhi atmatvat jnana kartritvam. So like this, there is a objection. And what is that objection? The objection is that Brahman becomes becomes shunya, becomes non-existent. When does Brahman become non-existent? Brahman becomes non-existent when Satyadi words such as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, what do? They just have a removing effect. Vyavartakam. So they just remove things. And then to which Bhashyakara very nicely pointed out that is not true. If Satyam and Jnanam were just erasers, then, then they don't, then that means they won't have any meaning of their own. But we know that they have a meaning of their own. Satyam means something. Satyam means it's the karanam of whatever it is. It's got the sense of karanatvam. Number one. One meaning is that. And it's got the sense of what is that? That it is abadhitam, non-negatable. It's got those two senses in the word sat, existent. Especially something like atma, which is self-existent. This was pointed out. Similarly, the word jnanam also has its own meaning. And what is the meaning of jnanam? That it is not jada. It is not a dead Brahman. We are talking of Brahman which is live, sentient, conscious, aware. In fact, we are talking of awareness. Okay. And so this is basically what we are talking about. And so therefore, it cannot be non-existent. It was told in giving various reasons. First is niravayavatvat, anamshatvat, same reason. And what does that mean? Because it doesn't have parts. That's that is one of the reasons why it is not, you cannot say it is shunya and everything, because first of all, it is whole. It doesn't have parts, it is whole. And so therefore you cannot say that it is non-existent, because we are talking of something that is non-separate from you, which is, what is that? When one part is destroyed, the whole is destroyed. That is not, that is not the not that situation at all. So that was given. And then the second reason that was given was that lakshanartha pradhanyam iti avochama. So we've already said, even though they are adjectival, we are talking of indicatory words. Indicatory words means they indicate something. It's even though we say definition, it's not even, I mean, none of the translations will do service because this is a pedagogical tool. Please understand that's being deployed here. And what is this methodology? The methodology is that you see this as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. You see these words as as having some power to transform. Transform who? You, of course. Who else? That is the main purpose of this Satyam Gnanam Anantam. No other purpose it has. So if it has the power to transform, how does it do it? It does it through these words being indicatory words. What is the meaning of indicatory words? Lakshana. What is Lakshana? Indicatory words. Well, that's not getting us very far, isn't it? If you say, what is indicatory words? Lakshana. What is Lakshana? Indicatory words. Indicatory words means that, it's just like what the metaphor that was given earlier. You're driving from one town to another town, and you stop somewhere, and then, you want to have something to eat. You stop at some kind of a rest area, and then you want to have something to eat. It says food, and then there is a kind of a sign with an arrow. You don't catch hold of the arrow or start eating the sign to stave off your hunger. You go where it indicates. And when you go where it indicates, you are then one with food. That is the idea. But here, what it indicates, there at least there is some Dvaita possible. But we have to understand what it indicates is you. And what kind of you? The self-effulgent, self-evident you. That's what it indicates. So how can there be, there is no space between the words and you. It's not that the words lead you somewhere. They lead you back to yourself, a self that has been misunderstood. And this is what is pointed out. And it cannot do that unless, the words cannot do that unless they have their own meaning. They're not just negating things, and therefore that you which you are trying to understand is not and can never be non existent. This was pointed out in great detail. We saw this. And then, this is a very important Purva Paksha and its refutation. And then we are on the last leg of this, the last two sentences, and you can repeat Tatra
तत्र
अनन्तशब्दः
अनन्तशब्दः
अन्तवत्वप्रतिषेधद्वारेण
अन्तवत्वप्रतिषेधद्वारेण
विशेषणम्
विशेषणम्
सत्यज्ञानशब्दौ तु
सत्यज्ञानशब्दौ तु
स्वार्थसमर्पणेन एव
स्वार्थसमर्पणेन एव
विशेषणे भवतः.
विशेषणे भवतः.
These two, now we have these two sentences which are actually one point we have to see. He says even between these three words, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, these three indicators of this Brahman, there is a slight difference in how they operate. Satyam and Jnanam, these two words, Swartha Samarpanena Eva, by delineating or unfolding their own meaning, they become indicators. Visheshane bhavataha means they are not Visheshanas here, they are Lakshanas. We have to take it like that. Because he is calling them Visheshanas because he is responding to the Purva Pakshi here. And also, they have an adjectival status, and so therefore they are for the namesake Visheshana. So therefore, Satyajnana Shabdau tu Swartha Samarpanena eva Visheshane Bhavatah. Their modus of operation is slightly different. Which ones? Satyam and Jnanam, these two words on one side, and Anantam standing apart from them. Why? Satya and Jnana, these two words, they give, they they just provide their own meaning. Satyam gives the sense of karanam, because you go to the root and then finally you find the root of something and you say, yes, it is Satyam. Meaning it's got a kind of a causality there. And of course, it is, we'll see what kind of a causality later on. But it's got the sense of, there is a sense of causality inbuilt into the word Satyam. Even in the Chandogya Upanishad, recall the first words of the teaching of Uddalaka, Sadeva Somya idamagre asit. Idam, idam jagat agre srishtehe prak asit. This jagat, even before it was manifest, was there. How? In the form of Sat. So the word Sat and Karanatvam are always together. And then the second thing that you get from the word Sat, you get is this, that it is not Anritam, meaning it is not negatable. It has a kind of a sense of a causality, number one, and number two, it is non-negatable in nature. These two are what the word Sat provides. And how do they give? How does this word provide this meaning? This word Sat provides these two meaning. Swartha samarpanena. By samarpana doesn't mean by sacrificing itself. That's not the idea. So samarpana here means by lending its meaning in full measure, by giving a weightage to its it's like it's being utilized fully, by giving weightage to its meaning, and the Upanishad is pressing it fully and getting all the juice out of the word Satyam and out of the word Jnana. So what does Jnanam do? Jnanam again, it is the non-jadatvam immediately comes to mind. The deployment of the word Jnanam is extremely pertinent here, because it is not jada. Because if it is jada, what happens? It'll be a contradiction in terms. Here you are existing, and you are going to be you are going to be taught that you are Brahman. And then what kind of Brahman? I think you're not even sentient. That is the conclusion that one has to come to. And so, therefore, the Jnana Shabda, just like the Satya Shabda, what does it do? It gives its meaning. It lends its meaning of Jnana Dhatu Avabodhane. And then what does it do? It says that it is that which is in the form of knowing. This is what. So Swartha Samarpanena Eva Visheshane Bhavatah. So they give the meaning of Brahman by lending their own meanings, their own word meanings, in the form of Jnapti Swarupa, in the form of Sat, etc. Whatever their positive meanings are there, they give their positive meanings, and then indicate Brahman. The word Ananta behaves slightly differently. Tatra, in this context, Ananta Shabdah, the word Ananta, Antavatva Pratishedhadvarena Visheshanam. It is also a it is also a Visheshana slash Lakshana, definitely. And then it also has, it also is a Lakshana, just like the other ones. But while the other two, sorry, what do they do? The other two lend their meanings and enhance one's understanding of the word Brahman. The Ananta Shabda has the power of negating limitations. Antavatva pratishedhadvarena. Antavatvam, limitations. The status of having limitations, antavatvam pratishedha, negating, dvarena, through the road. Dwara means road, through the path of negating the specific limitations that might be attached to Brahman. or in fact those that are attached to the word Satyam and Jnanam itself. This one has a negative, power, a power that sweeps away wrong notions. And of course, the word Satyam and Jnanam also sweep away wrong notions, but they do it they indicate Brahman by giving their meanings, by lending their meanings. What is the meaning of the word Ananta? It is already a negation. Anta and Ananta. So therefore, this one functions slightly differently. Because first, what does it do to Brahman? It says Anantam Brahma. And we started to look at this a little bit yesterday, because we saw how this Brahman, which is without an end, Anantam Brahma, we saw that. And that's why Brahman is not a thing that you can find at a particular place, like Brahmaloka. That is not Brahman. And then what? Brahman is also not available in a particular in a particular time. Even though we say Brahma Muhurtam, Brahma Vela, meaning 4 o'clock in the morning is called Brahma Muhurtam. And anything that you do is supposed to be very auspicious to sit and study, meditate, all these things. And 4 o'clock morning, okay, not evening. Yeah, I have to specify that. And so here, that is called Brahma Muhurtam. It's not that Brahman is available at that time. And then again, it's not an object that you go see, somewhere sitting. And so all this is accomplished by the word Jnanam. From this Brahman, this word Jnanam removes all the time bound, the threefold limitations that we have talked about at length: the time bound limitation, space bound limitation, object bound limitations. It does that directly from Brahman. And not only that, the word Ananta also powerfully operates on the words Satyam and Jnanam, which in turn are indicating Brahman alone. And it operates on them powerfully, covering them of any little residue that there may be for us to misunderstand. Any kind of lesha, a residue of limitation that might be there, that is also scrubbed away by the word Anantam. Antavatva Pratishedhadvarena Visheshane Bhavatah Viseshanam. And so therefore, what does that mean? It scrubs the sense of limitations connected with Satyam existence. Immediately we think of existence for how long? And that how long is removed by the word Anantam. Anantam Sat. So existence in what form? That is also removed, no form. So beyond form, so that orientation to form, orientation to time, orientation to object and place, and all these things are removed from the word Sat. The word Sat gets a good scrubbing. This is like some kind of a nice scouring pad. This word Anantam, it just takes away all these, any kind of a limitation that can be imbued from the word Sat, and again also from the word Jnanam. And this we have already seen. How does it remove all the limitations from the word Jnanam? It is not the knower, it is not the known, it is not in means of knowledge. Not, neither pramata, nor prameya, nor pramana. Jnata, jnanam, jneyam, all these things, it removes. Sheer jnapti swarupa avabodhane, just in the form of sentience, knowingness. And so Sat means beingness. So what does Anantam do? Anantam makes Brahman a knowing being. Yeah, this is fantastic. Just simply a conscious knowing being. that that is limitless from the sense of time. Okay, then now the next point I want to make is that even though here it says anantatva pratishedha dwarena visheshanam, for the word ananta, this is only one of the pathways, one of the pathways in which it helps out the word Brahman and also the word Satyam and Jnanam. It lends its help. But the word Ananta also has its own meaning. And what is that? Antam na vidyate yasya. Antah na vidyate yasya. So that which doesn't have an end. So that which doesn't have an end, even though we are putting it negatively here, positively we say limitless, limitlessness, and that which has no limits, that which has that which is forever, if we want to put it positively. So it brings in also the positive meaning. And so here, if we are looking at Satyam and Jnanam as getting help from Anantam, the word Ananta also has its own meaning. Let us not forget that. And what is the meaning of the word Ananta? That which is forever. So it's a knowing being which is forever the same all the time. This is what the whole thing is. I mean, this is just very stupendous. It's just wonderful. And then, like a pilot who is experienced in nicely gliding a plane to a safe landing in the choppiest of weather. Bhashyakara lands the plane inside the buddhi, in the kshetra of the buddhi. It's just so beautiful. I mean, the segue here, when you see it, is very, very nice. And why do you say choppy weather? Because that is the antahkarana, full of all kinds of resistance, non-understanding, and various weather systems. Weather systems means what? Whether the Shruti means this or whether the Shruti means that. This is what is the various weather systems going on, and confusion and all kinds of things are there. And still somehow very nicely this plane called this plane called Brahman is landed on the on the very narrow, because just trying to see the light between these objections and everything, on the very, very narrow landing strip of I Atma. And let's see how beautifully it is going to be done here. Tasmadva
तस्माद्वा
एतस्मादात्मनः
एतस्मादात्मनः
इति
इति
ब्रह्मणि एव
ब्रह्मणि एव
आत्मशब्दप्रयोगात्
आत्मशब्दप्रयोगात्
वेदितुः आत्मा
वेदितुः आत्मा
एव ब्रह्म.
एव ब्रह्म.
Yeah, that is the landing. Very smooth landing in the choppy waters of the Antahkarana. At any given time, this is what is happening in the Antahkarana, full of confusion, full of resistance, full of fear, full of all kinds of things. And still, he just beautifully brings the word Brahman to land on the plane called I. Amazing. So, how does he do it? Let us see. He first of all starts to quote, he quotes from the very next sentence, or one of the very next sentences that we are going to come across in the text itself. And this is a very interesting mechanism, because you don't normally quote something that you are going to which you're going to encounter in the very next mantra, in the very text that one is expounding. Usually the quote is from either a different part of the Upanishad. Yes, Taittiriya, different part, and we have seen this in the Chandogya Upanishad also. But rarely do we see the next sentence being presented as a quotation. Actually, it's not just a quote, it's a bridge. Tasmad va tasmad atmanah akashah sambhutah ityadi. Taittiriya 2:1. And where are we now? We are on 1:1. Okay. So he's quoting the very next mantra. And we haven't even finished 1:1, but he is quoting the very next mantra. And what, pray tell, what is this? Because as I said, he's using it as a setu, a bridge. A bridge to what? This is what is something, a bridge to what? A bridge between Brahman and myself, I. A bridge between Brahman and oneself. That is why he is bringing this right here. Because really, in here, there is a very interesting thing going on. Om Brahmavida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta. We are still discussing Brahman and Brahmavid. Satyam. And what is this Brahman? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Oh, okay, it is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Fantastic. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. The one who knows this in the cave of the heart, and in the cave of the heart, one who knows this, then what happens to that? Sarvan Kaman Samashnute Brahmana Saha. In the form of Brahman, the person enjoys every single desire, because the knowledge of oneself as Brahman is that which removes all the other desires, because all other desires are just basically this desire that has not found its destination. This is what we have understood. And then the next mantra is the word Brahman is forgotten until much later. तस्माद्वा एतस्माद् आत्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः. From this tasmat, therefore, okay, and it's a very interesting therefore. And therefore, what happened? Therefore, from this atma and this I, the sky, the not sky, space was created. From space, vayu, the air was created. From air, fire was created. From fire, water was created, and from water, earth was created, and from the earth, food was created in the form of plants. It doesn't mention animals, okay? Yeah, plants, it says. And then from the plants came the human bodies. The human bodies have come from these plants. And so, therefore, every body is a modification of all these five elements in this particular form. And the modification of the food that one has eaten, not only the food that one has eaten, the food that the parents and the grandparents and the great grandparents have eaten. Recently, they did some excavation in Pompeii, in Rome, and they found that there was in ancient Rome, they unearthed a cafe. So there was a counter, and there were places to sit. And then there was the big, jars which were half, purposely half, they didn't have cement, but some kind of a clay or a cob kind of a thing. It was sunken inside. And then they could just open the lid and give whatever they wanted to give to the customers. And then they even dredged those big things, and they found pickled vegetables and some other things that they were selling. So so it is so this body is the it's just phenomenal to think that this body that one takes for granted is actually is actually been coming from so many thousands of years. And before the human body, there was so dinosaur body, still a body, still made of five elements. And before that, some other kind of body, single cell body, everything. I mean, how it has evolved. So the parents eat certain food that has given risen to this body, and the grandparents, the food that the grandparents ate has given risen to the body of the parents. And then the great grandparents perhaps were in Pompeii at this cafe. Think about it. I mean, this is just so fascinating. I find it really, really fascinating. So, and so like this, from this Atma alone, this body is the product of food, but from this Atma alone, this body has come. Most directly, it is the product of food. But from the Atma, the Atma means I. From the I, the space has come. From the I, everything has come, and the space. And then see, from the elements also, as we have seen in the Chandogya, we have from the subtlest to the grossest, we have a list. Why? Because that's how it is. The subtlest thing come first. Out of the subtlest in terms of what? If you ask, subtlest in terms of how many sense organs can objectify it. Space. What can you, how is space identified? How is space objectified? Through sound. So therefore, it's only one sense organ that can objectify space. And then from there we have Vayu, two sense organs. Sound, and then sound, the Anuvartate, it comes down, and then we we have to add one more. Sound and touch. Then we have fire. Of course, you can touch it, you don't want to, and it also makes a sound, a crackling sound. And then what else is there new for the fire? Sight. You can also see it. Then from the fire we have water, and then all those three things come down, and then plus the new one is taste. Oh, but the water is, we were told in elementary school, that which is tasteless, odorless liquid is water. That is its taste. That is its taste. And then, so that is the fourth one. And then what is left? Smell. And the sense of smell, earth. Just like, when the new rains come and you have that smell, that is Gandhavati Prithivi, it is called. Just fascinating, very, very amazing. And so this is, from the subtlest to the grossest. All this has come from this, the food has come. And from the food eaten by the generations and generations ago, this body has come. Not only the food you eat, but whatever the food that anybody has eaten connected to you, connected to this body, it is all counted here. And it's just really fascinating. And so this is the quotation here. And this quotation is, given, as I said, is as a bridge. So he says, iti brahmani. We'll see this and then go back to understand a few more things. Iti brahmani eva. Therefore, in this Brahman alone, Atma Shabda Prayogat, because the word I is used with reference to Brahman. Vishaya Saptami. Iti Brahmani eva, with regard to Brahman, with reference to Brahman, the use of the word I, Atma, shows an important thing. Bhashyakara says. What does it show? Vedituhu, veditru, veta, knower. How is it formed? Veditru, with to know plus the agent noun trich. And trich means er. Vedar means knower. Okay, so like this. So veditru. So with and the agent noun, to make an agent noun, the suffix trich, uh, you know what should I say, demands that it takes guna. So with to know becomes ved plus thru, and it also takes a agama, an augment called e. So it becomes vedi thru. And then when it declines, we have veta. And so veditru, vedituhu, fifth case. Vedituhu, Vedituhu Atma Eva Brahma. Very elegant way of putting it. That's why I said it's a smooth landing in the choppy waters, in the confused waters of the Antakarana, because there is no way to misunderstand it. And then when we encounter the Purva Pakshi after this, don't tell me you said there was no way to misunderstand it. For all of you, Purva Pakshi is another animal. Okay, yeah. So that one will always keep mistaking. So there's no way to not understand this. It's very elegantly put, and we'll see why presently. But let's just understand the meaning here. So, iti brahmani eva atma shabda prayogat. With reference to Brahman, when the word I is used, what is the Upanishad trying to say? Bhashyakara says, Vedituhu Atma Eva Brahma. It is trying to make the radical point that the Atma of the knower, it's not the knower. It doesn't say knower is Brahman alone. It says the Atma means the truth, the I of the knower, the I that is behind the knower. Behind means don't look behind, okay? Yeah. Behind means as though, yeah. The one that is the content of the knower, the one that is the truth of the knower, the one that because of whom knower is. Known is, because of which presence, because of which Jnapti Swarupa, because of which Sat Swarupa, because of which Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that I is, that conscious sentient being. Being means existent. That existent being who was there even before that person decided to become a knower, even of the knower of Brahman. So that person, that I alone is Brahman, iti siddham. Siddham means it is established, it is proven. How is it proven? Who is proving it? Upanishad herself is proving it. Why? Because the Upanishad is a lady of few words. Very, very little bit. So, after this very lengthy discussion of what is Satyam, what is Jnanam, what is Anantam, the Upanishad, she thinks that there is no way you can misunderstand any further at all ever. You cannot misunderstand this absolutely, because this is what it is. This is exactly what it is. It has been unfolded in the greatest of details. So how can anybody misunderstand it? And so therefore, it is appropriate to say, Vedituhu Atma Eva, the truth of the knower, which is also the truth of the known. There is no two truths here, one Sat. Ekam Sat Advitiyam. Non-dually one truth. And there cannot be two consciousnesses. There is only one consciousness. You can't even say one. There's non-dual, non-dually one. And that which is Sat is Chit, Jnanam. And it is Anantam. And so that Brahman, which was defined as Satyam Jnanam Anantam, alone is this Atma, which has given rise to this entire universe of names and forms, which has, as it were, manifested this whole Jagat of Nama and Rupa. A very beautiful, I mean, it's almost easy to miss it, yeah. It's like when you're sitting in the plane, and you expect the landing to be eventless. You don't want it to go bumpy like this. And you want it to just be smooth. And then, if you're reading a book and you're talking to your seatmate, you don't even notice it. You don't even know, oh, we've already landed. Oh, okay. Time to get the bags together and get down. And so this is exactly how it is. It is almost like if you if you close your eyes for a bit, you miss it. And what do you miss? You miss nothing more, nothing less than a big Mahavakya. That is what you miss. Because the Mahavakyas are there in all the Upanishads, even though the Sampradayas have highlighted four Mahavakyas, one from each Veda. So the Sampradaya has highlighted four Mahavakyas, one from each Veda. It is highlighted because to give a little bit of an example. Udaharanartham. It is a udaharana. It is not, it is an example. It's just to illustrate that this is what Mahavakya looks like. And so we had the famous Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, of course, it's the most famous, I think. And then that is from the Chandogya Upanishad, Ayam Atma Brahma, from each Veda. Chandogya means Samaveda, Tattvamasi from Samaveda, Ayam Atma Brahma from Atharva Veda, Mundaka Upanishad. And then what else do we have? And then this thing, Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma from the Taittiriya Upanishad. Prajnanam Brahma. Ayamatma Brahma. Tattvamasi. And Aham Brahmasmi from the Yajurveda. So these are the ones that are talked about in each one, and they are called Mahavakyas because in each one the I, the hapless, hopeless, helpless jiva obtaining in this body mind sense complex, is equated to the cause of the universe, Ishvara, in the form of Brahman, which is known through two indications. One is called Swarupa Lakshana, which we have been studying. Its nature, the intrinsic nature, which cannot be separated from it. And the other definition is from the standpoint of the manifest universe, with an ascribed or an imbued or a superimposed causality, and as though causality, as though the cause of the universe. So, from these two standpoints, this Brahman is revealed as the Atma alone in all these Mahavakyas. In fact, the definition of the word Mahavakya itself is Jiveshwarayoho Aikyam Vakyam, a sentence that unfolds the Aikya, the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara, is called Mahavakya. This is exactly what it is. And so, therefore, what do we have here? Here it's like some not bhashyakaras, but some commentators have called this Satyam. They do concede that the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam is also unfolding Brahman as Atma, but they say it is not a Mahavakya. Why? Only those four are Mahavakyas. Haven't we told you before? Only those four are Mahavakyas. This is called Avantara Vakya. Avantara Vakya means what? Just by chance, it's like just like how they in academia we have, what do we have? Major Upanishads and minor Upanishads. Says who? Who decides? It's just like, is it by the size? If it's by the size, then Kena Upanishad, which is only 2.5 pages, it should be, and Mandukya Upanishad, which is only 1 page. If you don't add the Karika, those should be minor Upanishads. No, it is not by size. It is by something, I don't know what it is, by maybe by antiquity, which they have again ascribed. And so, like this minor Upanishad and major Upanishad, just like that, they have major Mahavakyas and then minor Mahavakya. This is a minor, by chance Mahavakya. Upanishad doesn't do anything by chance. The Upanishads doesn't do anything by chance. And so, therefore, this is one more reason not to study Upanishad academically, really. It's just going to destroy the person. Absolutely. It's just, it's just to, it's, after studying the Upanishad academically, the only thing you can do is write a concordance. That's what you can do. Concordance means you count how many times the word Atma has come in Taittiriya Upanishad, and which citation, which page, which mantra, and then you make a list which other people can use for reference. That would be that would be a nice use of the study, I suppose. But really, it doesn't do anything to take away to take away this sense of what is that called, the sense of smallness, fear, sorrow. It does nothing. So anyhow, so in the academic circles, both Western as well as in India, in the kind of erudition and scholarship that has come later on, it is quite the fashion, the trend, to say that, oh, you know what, this is avantara vakya, a by chance vakya. It is not mahavakya. But this is what we have missed because we were just so busy watching the movie on the plane or talking about Brahman that we just did not even know that it has landed on it has landed on the narrow strip of the Antakarana. In the little space of Shraddha and Bhakti, the plane has managed to make a landing. And in this landing, we have missed the whole Mahavakya. What is this Mahavakya? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Why is it a Mahavakya? It is a Mahavakya because the Ishvara and Jiva are both should be there at the same time in the Mahavakya. They should be in apposition with one another. And that's exactly how we find it. These are the words in apposition. Oh, yeah, we saw that. Samanadhikaranyam. Yes, yes, yes. Long ago, in a different life, we saw that word Samanadhikaranyam. We saw that they were all neuter. They were all singular. And what else? Neuter, singular, and something else. So they were all just first case. So they were all first case, neuter, and singular. Nominative, neuter, and singular. They were all, we saw that. But then they were just in apposition to the word Brahman, which was also in first case, neuter, singular. So they were just defining Brahman. Yes, they are defining Brahman. You are absolutely correct. And at the same time, the Jiva has snuck in. The Jiva has snuck in, just like Rahu. At that time, he was not known as Rahu, he was known as Swabhanu, Swayam, Bhaswarupatvat, self effulgent being. So, just like Swabhanu snuck into the Deva's tent and held out his hand for Amritatvam, the nectar of immortality, and already had a sip before he was outed as a non adhikari, and Vishnu's, disc, Vishnu's chakra decapitated him. And that's why he's coming tomorrow as an eclipse, and he's going to eclipse the full moon. That is what the Rahu and Ketu do. That's why they are called shadow planets. They are considered the northern and the southern nodes of the moon. But anyhow, so just like that, just like Rahu sneaked into the tent where the immortality was being given, was being doled out. So too this Jiva snuck into the definition of Brahman. How? Where? The word Jnana. Just fantastic. In the word Jnanam itself, you have you have the Jiva hiding there, not even knowing that it is that I'm here, without knowing that one is there. This is exactly how this Mahavakya is accomplished. Right in the middle. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, right in the middle. Sandwich between Satyam and Anantam is this Jiva hiding. Why hiding? Because it is not very easy to decode or unfold this sentence as a Mahavakya. If the word Jnanam has not been understood like we have understood it, Jnapti Swarupa. I know we keep calling it Jnapti Swarupa, Jnapti Swarupa, but what is this Jnapti Swarupa? That was 2 classes ago. I have already forgotten Jnapti Swarupa. What on earth is it? Jnapti Swarupa means awareness. Oh, that. It is awareness, yes. Oh, so Brahman is awareness, yes. Awareness of what? Awareness of itself. Awareness of everything else. Oh, but that's me too. Exactly. I am aware of myself and I am aware of everything else becomes evident to me. That is where the Samanadhikaranyam is. So this gives the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam as not only as a definition of Brahman, but also as a Mahavakya. It gives it a new makeover, I tell you. A very important makeover, because seen from this light, nothing is excluded, not even the crying Jiva who says, I am all alone and I have nobody and nothing is working for me. Nobody loves me, nobody validates me, nobody appreciates me, nobody wants me as a friend. This is all these complaints are just put to rest, not just put to bed, put to rest forever. They are gone. They are gone in the wake of understanding this as Mahavakya. This is just fascinating, amazing, because the word jnanam, awareness, consciousness. And if we take away, this is how the Mahavakya is unfolded more in the sense, more like an equation. And the equation, if we have something, a minus sign and a plus sign and, single digits and double digits, this is what we have to do. And, if we have something like 5 plus 4 on one side, and then in equal to 100 minus 91, and if one is 80 years old, one is left scratching the head. How? One number here, and single digits here, plus sign here, double digits there, minus sign here. How can they be the same? The inquiry has to be conducted. The child cannot tell the teacher, I have Shraddha in you and whatever you say must be true. No, this is a cognitive pursuit, just like mathematics. So here you have to use the fingers and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus. Okay, 4 plus means we add. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, okay. So this side yields the number 9. And that side yields the number 9 also. But the operation is different. There you take away, here you add. So it's just, but the two are one and the same. Here too we see the same thing. From the Jiva's side, what do we have from the Jiva's side? Lot of complaints. That's what makes a Jiva. Lot of complaints. We remove that. We remove things that are changing all the time. We don't take that into consideration. You remove the complaints. And then you see what else is there. Jiva means, okay, childhood, birth, old age, all these things, birth, death, childhood, old age, suffering, disease, all these things. That also you remove, because those are all time bound. You remove all of them. Oh, that means you have to take away the body from the equation. Yes, remove the body, remove the mind. Not right now, but cognitively. Remove the mind, remove the senses, remove everything. What is left? The one who is aware of all of them is left. And that awareness alone remains when we do this operation on the side of the jiva. You read again here also, we see a bhagatyaga lakshana. You retain the awareness and you give up all the other things that are not forever. Awareness is forever because it is anantam. We have already seen it. It is existent because it is sat. And it is me because that awareness is myself alone. Self-evident awareness. And then you do the same thing from the other side, Brahman side. So Brahman, Jagat Karanam Brahman, remove that. And then you remove all the other things. Ananta Kalyana Guna Sampanna means endowed with various fantastic, exalted qualities. Remove all that. Remove. What do you have? Jnana, awareness. All that is there, awareness. Jnapti Swarupa, Avabodha Swarupa. And that's why it is sandwiched, it is protected on this side by Sat, that it is absolutely existent, it is not Shunya, and on this side by Anantam, that everything, it is forever, it is not subject to any kind of time bound, place bound, object bound, any other form of bondage or notion of bondage. No other finitude is there. All that is there is this alone. And then safely sandwiched between Sat and Anantam. There is no more there is Jiva. Only Brahman, only Ishvara. That's all that is there. And that happens to be you from the standpoint of identifying with this body, mind, sense complex. And it is not wrong to identify with this body, mind, sense complex as long as the identification is objective, not subjective. Meaning, it is a natural identification. If somebody pinches you, the neighbor doesn't say ow. You say ow, ow, ow. So that means there is already a kind of an identification there, which we call sahajatadatmya. That is an objective identification. But along with that is mixed in subjective identifications. Why me? Why do I have this body? What have I done to get this kind of a body? All this is a karmaja tadatmya because of karma. And then delusional identification. I am no good, I am an idiot, born of delusion. Those are what are removed. There is an identification from the standpoint of the body. But the body is an as though plus to this awareness, to this consciousness. So it's an as though plus. Thank God. Otherwise, we can't even sit and study. We're just hanging out somewhere like a bhuta, like a preta. Preta means some disembodied being. You'll be hanging out somewhere. And then and you're sitting on a tree, let's say, and then you see the guru, somebody who could be the guru, going underneath the tree, and you say, hey, can I study with you? Hello. And guru doesn't even hear because you don't have a mouth. You think you have said it, but you've just thought it. You have a mind. Sukshma Sharira is there. So the body is useful. It's a vehicle for moksha, and it's a plus. The body is a plus, the mind is a plus, the senses are a plus, a value added plus to that consciousness, to that jnanam, to that awareness, which is complete without this plus. Only from the standpoint of the empirical world, where this ignorance has the power to trouble, we say we need this body, we need this mind, we need the guru, we need to be devotee, we need to be shishya, all these things. We say all that. But otherwise, it's just Satyam Jnanam Anantam. The word Jnanam brings in the Atma, I. And this is where, this is what has been totally missed, because because here the plane has just landed very, very nicely. Iti Brahmani eva Atma Shabda Prayogat Vedituhu Atma eva Brahma. So he's, what does he do here in this particular section? He is going to, delineate this oneness between I and Brahman. Atma aikyat Brahmanaha. So, since the Brahman is Atma, then since the Atma is Brahman, and since there is no other Brahman which is not Atma, then therefore what? It cannot be Shunya, because Can you say you don't exist? You can't. You may say Brahman doesn't exist, but you can never deny your own existence. And so, therefore, Brahman cannot be Shunya. This is the context in which he's making these points, which are also the segue to the next section. So, furthermore, etam anandamayam
एतम् आनन्दमयम्
atmanam
आत्मानम्
upasankramati
उपसङ्क्रामति
iti cha
इति च
atmatam darshayati.
आत्मतां दर्शयति.
Yeah. So then a more common practice of quoting from the same Upanishad which one is commenting upon, but in the mantras that come a little later is being practiced here. We see here, etam anandamayam atmanam upasankramati. So, this what is being talked about here is a person of Atma Jnanam. This is the quotation. And we'll see the quotations in detail when we come to those places. When we come to Mantra 2.8, we'll see that. But for now, just otherwise, it won't make any sense. Because we don't have, the people who are studying don't have this, what is that called, the benefit of the hindsight that Adi Shankara has. So therefore, I'm going to just introduce the quotation so that we can, appreciate what point it is trying to make. And so here, etam anandamayam atmanam upasankramati, the modification of the modification of the I in the form of the enjoyer is also transcended by the person of knowledge. This is the translation. Etam anandamayam atmanam upasankramati. Upasankramati crosses over, transcends. And anandamayam atmanam, the oneself endowed with the status of being an experiencer or an enjoyer, is also transcended by the person of knowledge. And so this is how it is. So, etamannamayamatmanam upasankramati, etam pranamayamatmanam upasankramati, etam manomayamatmanam upasankramati, etam Vignamayam upasankramati, etam Anandamayam atmanam upasankramati. This is the whole quotation, of which this small little piece has been, the last one alone he has quoted, and we'll see why very soon. But this is what the quotation is, that the person of knowledge, once you understand the Atma, doesn't get stuck in any locus of error, this mistaken identification that we just talked about, Bhrantija Tadatmya. That doesn't get stuck in any of the mistaken identification with regard to the body. There is one big foot, what is that, you lose the foothold there, and one falls into an abysmal identification with the body. Dehoham, Dehe nashte aham nashtah, Dehe pushte aham pushtah. If the body is destroyed, I am gone. If the body is well fed, I am okay. This is a very sad identification, a very gross level identification. Then we have the next level of the next locus of error, prana. Prana means all these subtle mechanisms, respiration of etc. Respiration is the most easily delineated. because it is, it is happening outside, more or less. You take the air from quote unquote outside the body, so to speak, and then you throw out the air again back outside. So it is more easily objectifiable than circulation. You can't sense circulation, I mean, unless you take your pulse, I suppose. And then you can't sense, even harder it is to sense digestion, etc. So therefore this one is, prana. Generally we use respiration, but here pranamaya atmanam, the one that is transcended, is I am the sum total of all these pranic functions. And so I'm the sum total of all these things. This kind of an idea is totally given up. I am not just the prana. Prana is me. I am not the prana. Body is me, because everything is Brahman. And so body is me. I am not. Body is Atma. Atma is not the body. Prana is Atma. Atma is not the prana. And then what? Manaha. This has to do with the mind, which is in the Shastra called that which has a vacillating capacity, which keeps on changing its mind. And so that also I am not. Thinker, I am not. And then from that shallow level mind, we go into the next one, Vijnanamayam, the one who is the karta, the one who is no longer just at the level of thinking, but now is at the level of deciding and doing. Vijnanam yajnam tanute karmani tanute picha. This is what it is. So the Vijnanam, this I, which is closely associated, nay, identified with this Vijnanamaya kosha, a locus of error, where a dangerous locus of error, where one thinks oneself to be the doer and the mover and shaker of everything. And then this is a big trap. And so that atma, that I which is a masquerader, is also transcended. So the pranic I, quote unquote, is transcended. The I as the doer is transcended. And then what else is there? The final one is the I as the experiencer. I am done in. That I is also transcended. Etam anandamayam atmanam upasankramati. There's a huge, and we'll come to this when we come to that portion of the Bhashya. There's a huge, fight between scholars whether Anandamaya Atma is itself Ananda, joy. And of course, Bhashyakara, even in the Brahma Sutra also we see this. Anandamaya Abhyasat. Na Anandamaya Abhyasat. There is one sutra. So that means abhyasat means since it is repeated. So that means it is not since it is crossed over, since it is repeated, it is not the Ananda Atma. That is different from Anandamaya. The word Maya, the suffix Maya means modification. Suffix maya meaning modification. And so therefore this is not it. There is a nice discussion there, but that's for later. For now, all we have to know is that the I here is alone being talked about. What Brahman is talking about? Who is the one who is crossing all these landmines of errors, erroneous identification? I. And what is it that one is crossing over? The mistaken I. The mistaken notion of the I is being crossed over by this awareness identified I. And what kind of awareness? An awareness that extends forever, anantam, and an awareness that is sentient, and an awareness that is jnanam, and an awareness that is existent, which is the source of all existence, including the existence of these errors. It's amazing. And so therefore this is what the person is crossing over. And so here also atmatam darshayati, shows atma only, shows I only. And so it is not showing Brahman as something different at all. Then one more reason he gives. Tat praveshacha.
तत्प्रवेशाच्च
तत् सृष्ट्वा
तत्सृष्ट्वा
तदेव अनुप्राविशत्
तदेव अनुप्राविशत्
इति च
इति च
तस्यैव
तस्यैव
जीवरूपेण
जीवरूपेण
शरीरप्रवेशं दर्शयति।
शरीरप्रवेशं दर्शयति।
अतः
अतः
वेदुतुः स्वरूपं ब्रह्म.
वेदितुः स्वरूपं ब्रह्म.
Yeah, very nice, crisp and well packed argument here. And then he gives the third reason, which is one more quotation from later on in this very text. So tat praveshat cha. Tat praveshat means tasya pravesha, tasya brahmanah. This tat refers to Brahman here. So the fact of Brahman, pravesha means entry. Praveshat, fifth case. Because of its entry. Because of its entry into what? This is very beautiful because this is called Pravesha Shruti. There is a beautiful piece here which talks about the creation mythology, if you want to call it that, or how the creation started from the standpoint of the Upanishad. Really speaking, the answer to the question, how did the creation start, should be the creation never started. Because it really doesn't exist. There is no creation. Then how are you talking to me? If you ask, and through so many computers and microphones and this and that and wires and cables and fiber net and all these things, all as though, all as though. And even now it is only Brahman. And then, it is just the so-called creation is just a manifestation, and then a demanifestation and a manifestation. And then, really speaking, that manifestation is also, as it were, as good as unseen by the person of knowledge of the self, because that manifestation does not bother whom, that is the person of knowledge. And if it does not bother you, you don't notice it. This is just simple logic. If something is not bothering you, you don't notice it. It's just like a little something that is sitting in the corner, a piece of furniture that you haven't even noticed it, and suddenly you think, oh, it's there all along. Or even a person who is extremely quiet, doesn't make any noise. A model roommate, let us say, they don't bother you. And you don't even think of them as a separate person after a while, because they just start doing their own thing and you don't notice them, and they're just there. And it is exactly like that for the person of knowledge. And here we are not talking of one person not bothering the person of knowledge. It's the whole Jagat ceases to bother you. And if the whole entire Jagat ceases to bother you, why bother talking about whether it is there or not there? It's as good as not there. That is the idea. So, with this caveat, we can talk about this whole Pravesha Shruti. And it begins like this. So kamayat bahusyam praja yegeti satapo tapyat satapas taptva idagum sarvam asrijat yadidam kincha tat srishtva tadevanupravishat tadanupravishya satyatyaccha bhavat. It continues, but this much is enough for the purposes of our analysis. This much is more than enough. And so here, very important, it saha akamayat. So this tat brahma has become saha. There is a gender bender happening. Masculine. Why? Atma. Atma is masculine. Or even Bhagavan, both are masculine. So akamayat, this being desired. What was there for this being to desire? There's, let me be many. Bahusyam. Prajayeya, let me populate myself. And then, so saying, so thinking, this being contemplated on the previous cycle of creation, where the same kind of populating had been done, and it was so flawless and so perfect in so many ways, in every way really, and so infallible, that it was repeated again this time. And then what happened? Then uh, Satapotapyat, contemplated. Tapastaptva idagam sarvam asrijat. All the names and forms were created. Tat srishtva. And again, here it's not like after the names and forms were created, there's no time, because time itself is part of the creation. Names and forms were created, and then, as it were, the great being entered, as it were, entered within heavy quotes into each and every name and form. This is what is called Pravesha Shruti. So therefore, what? So therefore, he says, Jiva Rupena Praveshatva, Pravishtatvat Sharira Pravesham Darshayati. That part we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.